Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna go and do what I read over February, the last 2 weeks, to finish that month up, and then what we're gonna be reading in March. So I guess we'll get right into it. First things first, I read Plastic Man by Kyle Baker. This was the Rubber Banded collection, which is it's like a deluxe edition that just came out. It's the entire Kyle Baker run from 2004 of the character of Plastic Man. So it's 20 issues long. I think all the issues are by him except two issues are by Scott Morris as well. So there's like two little guest issues, but everything else is by Kyle Baker. And if you don't know who Plastic Man is, he is like an old 30s character, kind of like Mr. Fantastic or Elongated Man, where his body can stretch, but also more crazy than that, his body can do like anything he wants, so it can mold into stuff. And he's like a silly, wacky character, so he'll like be talking about going to the zoo, and while he's doing that, his body is like transforming into giraffes or rhinos or whatever to have fun while he's talking, I guess. So he has a lot more animation. He's a more fun character to write, I think, because of that, and to read for that matter. But basically, Eel O'Brien was a gangster who was like a thief, I think, and then he decided to turn good once he got these powers. And this series is kind of like, it gives you like the intro to him, and then also like it's a little slow at first. The first like 10 issues, I'd say, were pretty like, okay, we get it, we know who Eel is, introducing side characters and stuff. But then after like issue 10, it starts to pick up. Pretty much around 13 is where like I started going, oh, I really like this book. It's 20 issues long though, so like if it's picking up where you start to like it at issue 13, that means there's only really 7 issues that were like awesome, and the rest of it was kind of like, the beginning was kind of like, it's a little slow, whatever. But it was good after that. So especially in context, in the time in DC Comics, they were all getting all serious with like Infinite Crisis, and then they had Identity Crisis, and like people were dying and messed up stuff was happening, and he makes fun of all that. And it's kind of one of the few comedy books in DC's lineup. And if you're a fan of that time of comics, which I am, it is fun to like read it and have it like look back and make fun of that kind of thing. So it's interesting. I enjoyed it, but it is, like I said, it took a little bit for me to get into it. So I would give that one like 3.5 out of 5 stars, I guess, because it ended up being like great, but it took a while to get started, kind of thing. So, but the art was good and everything from Kyle Baker, as it always is. But this was like, I think, him trying digital stuff for this comic, and it was, it's early 2000s, so you're gonna get kind of a mix of like, oh, we're not exactly sure how to make the backgrounds look good or unique. If it's just one color digitally, it's kind of boring sometimes. But his art's very cartoony, very fun for this character, and he definitely had an affinity for the character. So pick it up if you like that character, or if you wanted like a good run from Kyle Baker. It's good stuff. I think it's like a $40 hardcover, so, but it's got 20 issues. It's like the entire complete collection. So and that's called Rubber Banded collection. So, and then the next one I read was Nightwing Volume 1, Bludhaven. So this is the 1996 Run of Nightwing. So this is his first solo run. I had never read any of this from the 90s, and since I had been reading Nightfall, as you all know, from like past vlogs, I was like, oh, I want to know what happened to Nightwing. Who's like, why did Robin become Nightwing? And then we got Tim Drake as Robin now in Nightfall, and there seems to be some kind of conflict between Bruce and Dick Grayson. So I wanted to see what that was about and what the 90s run was about. And I saw it was written by like the same people. So it's written by like Chuck Dixon, who did all of Nightfall and stuff and created Bane. So I was like, oh, cool. Like, I guess we'll just continue this 90s reading and figure out what's going on with Nightwing and what happened. But this is interesting because it didn't seem like him and Bruce had like a horrible relationship, which is what I thought the first trade was going to be. But the first trade is the first 4-issue miniseries by Denny O'Neil, and then there's the first 8 issues of the Nightwing series itself, and that's by Chuck Dixon. So the first 4 issues are kind of like set up for like what's going on with Nightwing and whatnot, and then the next 8 issues are what's going on in Bludhaven. So and what Bludhaven is, it's basically the twin city to Gotham. It's the city across the river. It's they call it, like, you know, if Gotham is New York, it's the New Jersey or something of Gotham. So basically they even say, like, if there's you know, underground crime in Gotham, well, the crime in Bludhaven is just out on the streets kind of thing. So like they'll have, you know, corrupt cops in Gotham, but they're kind of low key or trying to be hiding it, you know. And then in Bludhaven, they don't give a fuck. All the cops are corrupt and everything. So basically, like all these mobsters, like 19 mob goons, wash up dead in Gotham Harbor, and they're all from Bludhaven. So Batman sends Nightwing to go figure out what's this, who's moved into Bludhaven and killing all the gangs and everything, and all the mob people. And so he like tasks Nightwing to do this, and so Nightwing's trying to prove something to him, but also like deciding, Bludhaven's going to be like my territory, not Gotham. So it's kind of him establishing himself as like, this is where I'm going to be, you know, this city needs me more than like Gotham, because Gotham has Batman. So it was good. If you like 90s stuff, it was strong. The 90s stuff is a bit cheesy. There's some like stuff that wouldn't fly PC wise in this. Like there's one scene where he is looking at a woman that like he rescues, and he's like, she would be pretty if she didn't have glasses. But she's like, looks like a supermodel, just she has glasses on. And he's like, if only she didn't have glasses. So I don't know if they were trying to make Dick Grayson seem like he was shallow and vapid. Maybe that's what they were going for, because Barbara Gordon as Oracle does kind of say that to him, because she talks to him in this book as well, because he's got her on his radio headset. So but yeah, that was interesting. It was a good read though, and it kind of gave me more history on Nightwing there. So, and then the next thing I read was Manhunter, which is the 70s run, the original run of Manhunter that just came out in a deluxe edition. It's by Archie Goodwin, and Walt Simonson did the art. And I gotta say, Walt Simonson knocked this out of the park. The art was fantastic, and like the I don't know if they recolored it or something, but it looked modern day to me. You could definitely see, like, it made me think like Tim Sale read this stuff, because he really looks a lot like, you know, it looked like early Tim Sale, or you could definitely see Tim Sale in a lot of this art. So he must have been a fan of Walt Simonson. If you don't know who Tim Sale is, he did like Batman Long Halloween and a couple of like Dark Victory, and he's done some really good stuff. If you know, we have a podcast. We've done we did Long Halloween and some other stuff by him before as well. So check those out if you like podcasts. Yeah, so basically Manhunter was a backup story in Detective Comics in the 70s. So in 1973, it's Detective Comics numbers 437 through 443. And in the back of those, there'd be like an 8-page story of Manhunter. So, and I really enjoyed this, actually. Besides the art, the story started off a little slow, and I was kind of like making myself read it, wanting to get to know this character a little bit more. But because I'd only known in the 2000s there was a Manhunter series, but that one was a woman, and she didn't have the ties to the storyline that's going on in this one. So in this one, the origin of Manhunter is he's like a perfect assassin, and he was like built basically by this like Illuminati, who it's originally like a group of scientists that wanted like help all of the world, but they ended up being like, you know what would help the world if we ruled it. So he like rebels and goes against this like Illuminati, and they, I guess, used his DNA to make like a whole army of hymns. So the way to distinguish if it's him or the army, because they cloned him to make this army to be their like guards or whatever. He wears a red suit, they wear a blue suit. So if he's wearing a blue suit, it's the bad guys. If it's wearing a red suit, it's him. So but he's just kind of like a badass all around. He knows all the ninjutsu is the martial art that he knows, and he's got like an old like World War II or World War I style pistol, and he just goes around murdering people, which is kind of cool for a 70s. I was surprised he just straight up kills people. So that was interesting. Him and Batman have a couple run-ins in it as well, and he's like, I'm gonna kill people, and Batman's like, I don't kill people and you shouldn't either, and he's like, well, I'm gonna, so either join me or don't. So Batman's like, I can't kill people. So that was fun. I really enjoyed that, and it was cool to like get a little history on the character and see like where it came from, because I did read the 2000 series where it was the female Manhunter, and I enjoyed that series a lot too. So it was cool to see like, oh, this is the original one. So then I read One Punch Man Volume 1, trying to get some manga into my repertoire. Haven't read too much manga, so just like Dragon Ball Z, some of that stuff from when I was a kid. So trying to read some more. I read One Punch Man Volume 1, and it was different than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be just like a fight comic, like Fist of North Star or Dragon Ball or something. It's about a guy who punches people, right? But it is not. It is very humorous. It is very funny. It is. It took me by surprise. So once I got into the, oh, this is not a fight comic, this is a kind of jokey, and definitely he's a funny character. Like he's a superhero who likes being a superhero, but it only takes him one punch to defeat his enemy. So basically he had to train to be a superhero just so he doesn't like get hit or whatever. Like so all he's got to do is not get hit, and then he can like punch the guy, and that's all it takes is one punch. So it was very interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm probably going to continue that this next month too, just for fun to see where it goes. But everybody says it's a really good manga, so I'm just going to go with it. It's just the first volume, and you can't really judge manga by the first volume 100%, but you know. I didn't grade Manhunter, but I would give that a 4 out of 5, and One Punch Man I would give a 3.5 out of 5. And then I read the Hip Hop Family Tree Volume 1. That we read for the podcast for Black History Month, and it's all about the history of hip hop. So if you like music history, or you enjoy hip hop but don't maybe know all the old stuff, like how it became a genre of music and like stormed the culture and everything, it's a really interesting read. Basically Ed Piskor, who's kind of like an indie darling, basically, like we're well trained, you know, from the Kubert School, cartoonist and comics creator who puts all his time and effort into whatever he wants to do. So like when he's got a project, it's not like he's getting a paycheck and that's why he's doing it. It's I want to make these books. So he does a lot of research and takes the time to really go all out in it. And I actually have the book here because it was so good that I bought the actual book instead of just reading it digitally. But you see, like even the book itself, he's got spot gloss on the cover. It's got really cool designs. He makes the paper's good quality, but it looks like it's newsprint. So like he actually had the paper that's good quality be treated so it looks like old newsprint. So you definitely get like the 70s style and everything, but you know, it's got a cartoony feel and look, but it's definitely like really captured the vibe of the time period of the 70s going into the 80s. And that was just volume 1, and it's a treasury size. So like, you know, this is gigantic, and really fun to read compared to just like an issue of comics. So there's 4 volumes of that. I'm gonna start reading all of them probably. So yeah, that was a really, really good read. I'm gonna give that a 5 out of 5. We reviewed it this week, so if you on the podcast, if you want to listen to more thoughts on that, me and John both really liked it, so check out that episode I got a YouTube video for it, and we have our podcast, Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. You can find it on all podcast apps. So and then finally, this behemoth, Batman Nightfall Volume 2 Night Quest, I finished it. It took longer than the first one. The first one was a nice quick read. I was having fun. Hit this one, and it was kind of like slam the brakes about 3 issues into this trade. This one goes into different issues, so it's not just Batman and Detective Comics. It's got Catwoman, it's got Shadow of the Bat, it's got a bunch of stuff, and the art is not equal in this one. I think I already covered some of the art in this and on previous stuff, but basically really like the Catwoman art from Jim Ballant. Wasn't too hot on some of the Shadow of the Bat and some of those other side title arts, but overall, this was still a fun read. It was still getting the history of Jean-Paul Valley taking over for Batman after Bane broke his back. I'd give it this trade like a 3 out of 5, whereas the other one I'd probably give a 4 out of 5, like the first one. So we'll see how the series continues, but that was a pretty fun read, but it did take a little bit to get through, just because it's a lot of. It just seemed like it took longer than it needed to get to the point of, Jean-Paul Valley. This one is about him. He takes over for Batman after Batman's back is broken, and he's Azrael as Batman. So he's not actually Azrael anymore, but he makes that new costume so he can look kind of more like Azrael, and he's like a more badass Batman. Some people at first are like, oh yeah, we want a Batman that takes out criminals and not just like locks them up at Arkham or whatever. But then he starts going crazy. He starts trying to kill like Robin and kill other people too. So basically like it's determined in this one that he is not a good Batman, and Batman needs to come back as soon as possible. So, and I'm assuming that's what Night's End, which is the 3rd volume, is about of this. So, I'm assuming it's the return of Batman. So, and then that was just all the collections I read, all the comics I read recently. We got 2 Moons #1. A bunch of #1s came out from Aftershock and Image that were all indie kind of books. So pick those up because it's a good time to start the series. These are all ongoing as far as I know. So we got 2 Moons #1, which is an ongoing horror comic from Image. It's about this Native American named 2 Moons who is fighting on the north side during the Civil War. And it turns out he's like a Native American who was raised by white people. He doesn't really know his heritage too well, but he is quickly learning his heritage because he starts seeing like all these spooky visions of like, dead people and ancestors and weird like spirit animals and stuff. So it's pretty freaky, like monsters and stuff coming out of people dying that he's shooting and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. It's been touted as like a big new horror comic from Image, so I liked it a lot, so check that one out. We got Nuclear Family from Aftershock. That's #1 issue, and this one pretty much is exactly what it sounds like. The cover is this family with gas masks on, like radioactive masks on, and it's just pretty much, this issue didn't really have too much in it other than setup. It was like, here's this guy, he works at a car dealership as a used car salesman. He's got a good family, and then a bomb drops, and it's like in the 50s because Sputnik is happening. So it's like during the Cold War, but at the beginning of the Cold War, kind of. So maybe tensions are higher, and this must be like an alternate history. Like, what if they did drop a bomb? So it was pretty good, like a good start. Maybe want to read it more. It's by Stephanie Phillips, and I generally enjoy all her stuff. So that's kind of why I picked it up too. And she did not disappoint. It was good. Then we got Terry Moore's Serial #2. And this is a really good issue. #1 came out last month. It was my pick of that week. And #2 didn't disappoint either. This one is about a girl who she's from another series that he did, but she's like basically she's a girl who's lived for like 100 years or something, and she has like the sword or the knife of Jack the Ripper, and so she was like a murderer or a serial killer, but she is not evil, so she's trying to like track down other killers in this one, and stuff's going on, people are dying, and she's trying to figure out because some of her friends are dying and whatnot. So it's really interesting. All of Terry Moore's stuff is good and worth reading. You check out everything he does. I highly recommend all of it. All of these were my pick of the week, so I'm going to give these 3 5 stars for this last week. And then Shadow Doctor #1 is a new Aftershock title as well. This is a true story. This actually would have been my actual just single pick of the week if I had read it when I read all the other comics, but I heard about this afterwards, so I wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. Shadow Doctor #1. It's a true story written by the guy whose grandfather it's about. But basically, the story is this guy's grandpa was a black man, or a black. At first, it starts out like a kind of black teenager during like Prohibition era, working with gangsters just as a driver, kind of rum running. And it turns out he was like a driver for a lower Al Capone. So Al Capone was like before he was Al Capone, basically. And then he leaves that because he's like, I don't want to just get in trouble and get arrested and whatever. I'm going to be a doctor. So he like goes to be a doctor, gets his degree, does all that stuff, and then can't get a job as a black man in 30. So he kind of calls in a favor to his old buddy Al, who is now head of, the mob. So and it was really, really good. It was really interesting to see how it happened, and the fact that it's a true story and it's written by the guy's actual grandson is crazy. So and then the next one I read was Stray Dogs #1. Now I just picked this one up because it sounded interesting. I kind of want to see where it goes. Shadow Doctor, by the way, I would give 5 out of 5 stars. Stray Dogs, just right away, I'll give that a 3 out of 5. It was fun, but it slightly was lacking. Like, I just thought there wasn't enough in it, but it was fun. It was good. This is actually a mini series. I think it's going to be 5 issues long. So, and it's kind of like a mix of All Dogs Go to Heaven and a serial killer movie. So it was fun, I thought. So I'm going to continue reading it just to see where it goes. Because towards the end it got better. Than the beginning is just dogs talking to each other. So if you like dogs and you like the anthropomorphic kind of comics, this one was fun. But then it got better the closer to the end of the issue. So yeah, that one I'm going to give a 3 out of 5. And then I also read this Harley Quinn. It's Batman White Knight Harley Quinn #5. This has been a really good mini series. I'm enjoying it a lot. This one had Jason Todd in it, which I'm like, yes. So he's kind of telling us what happened with him, and we're seeing like this new villain and Harley Quinn kind of like play off each other and what's going on with them and in Gotham. I'm enjoying the series a lot. I'm gonna give that one a 4 out of 5. The art's amazing and the story has been solid. So yeah, that's all for what I read of February. Keep in mind, I don't normally read this much stuff, but you might have heard of the storms that were going on in Texas. I live in Austin, so there was nothing to do for a whole week while the power was out and the water was out. So I read a bunch of stuff, and then last week I took off for vacation, so I had extra time last week as well. So got through a lot of things. So we'll see. I'll try to keep up a good steady pace, but let me know if there's some stuff I should be reading, if there's anything I missed. I definitely like to hear what you guys are reading and what you guys are liking. So but on that note, I have what I'm reading in March. So I already kind of talked about it, but basically Nightfall Volume 3, which is called Night's End. Like I said, obviously from the cover you see Batman fighting not Azrael, but Azrael the Batman. And so should be interesting. I'm hoping the art and everything is good in this and not so much stuff. I kind of flipped through it. It looks better. We'll see. And then you get this badass Kelly Jones cover. So that's cool. But yeah, hopefully it's got a really cool ending. I'm looking forward to that. Then I got Miracle Man Volume 1. So this one's called A Dream of Flying. And I've never read Miracle Man. Everybody has been talking about this for being awesome and amazing. This is by Alan Moore, but I've never read it. And I guess these are like the Marvel releases of it. And it's really interesting because the first issues of this look like 50s comics. I don't know if you can see that, but they definitely look like old school 50s comics, which I was kind of taken back. I'm like, are these reprints? But apparently they wrote the first issue to be like a callback to those early issues, so you know what the kind of origin was like, because apparently this character was from the 50s or golden age, and then was brought into the 70s, and then somehow Marvel got the rights to it. I don't know, there's this whole rights issues with this thing. But Marvel did these printings, these hardcovers, and I'm trying to get all of them before they go out of print. So this is Volume 1. I'm going to start with that one, and we'll see how that one goes. Speaking of Batman White Knight, I have yet to read The Curse of the White Knight. This one's been sitting on my shelf for a while. I wanted to read because I didn't know anything about Azrael, and apparently Azrael is gigantic in this book. So he's a big plot point. So that's why I started reading all the Nightfall books in the first place, is to know who Azrael was in that history. So this book is just the sequel to White Knight, Batman White Knight by Sean Gordon Murphy. And if you like really good art and you like really good Batman stories, check out any of his Batman. But this one, I'm assuming, is just as good as all the other ones. We'll see. I'll let you guys know how that one is. And then also I got 2 Sean Murphy books. This is The Wake by Sean Gordon Murphy and Scott Snyder writing. So Murphy on the art. I like his art a lot. I picked up a bunch of his books just because of his art. So there's, he's got a very distinct style. I really like his style. Very dark, very gritty. Like he's a traditionalist. Everything's on ink and paper and everything. So I love the way his art is. So this is apparently like a Waterworld kind of book, which sounded very interesting to me. So I haven't read too much Scott Snyder stuff, so I'm interested in that. But we will see how this one is. But I think this is just the whole series, and I think it's only 10 issues long, or maybe 8 issues long. So it's a pretty short series that's from Vertigo. So we'll see how that is. But I mean, it's its own kind of like complete collection. So that's interesting. I mean, I really wanted to kind of, once I heard it was like Waterworld or whatever, I was like, ooh, that sounds fun. So, and then I got this Booster Gold. This is the original 80s series. This is the collection's called The Big Fall, and this is issues 1 through 12 of the original 80s series. If you don't know who Booster Gold is, he's fucking awesome. I love this character. I first got introduced to him in the 52 when that happened in the mid 2000s after Infinite Crisis and all that. And I really liked his arc in 52. And so I went and kind of read some of the earlier stuff, and it's really fun to see like how the character started, where he came from. I mean, he's created by, I think it's Dan Jurgens and Mike DiCarlo are the like main writers and artists of this. So in the same way, also I love Blue Beetle, and they're like best buds. So like I don't know, I haven't read this whole series at all though, so I was wanting to pick this up, and I'm glad I found the hardcovers. So I got this one, and if hopefully it's good, I get the second volume, and it should be good. I did notice, I'm surprised this fits 12 issues. It's not that big of a book, but the pages are like they're not as thick as other other style hardcovers. So it's not bad though. The paper doesn't feel cheap or anything. It's not like super thin like newsprint or something, but it definitely is not as thick as other ones. And I think it's kind of like saving on paper or whatever, or like saving on quality, but it's not like bad quality or anything. And it's like a $40 hardcover for 12 issues. So if you were going to try to find these, they'd probably all be $3.99 each or whatever. So that's about $40-ish or $40, right? I don't know. I can't do math. So, and then the last thing I'm gonna read this month, or like that I got planned reading at least, is the volume 2 of Hip Hop Family Tree. This has a fucking cool cover on it. Just continuing. This one is from 1981 to 1983. So the first volume was 1970s, like the mid 70s to 1981. So that one spanned a lot more years. So this one seems like it's going to be more dense because more things are happening all at once, kind of thing. So it looks like from the back cover we got Run DMC on it. So that should be, I think that's Run DMC. It looks like Run DMC, but and got some more probably people I know of more in this one. So should be good. We'll see how that one goes. And that is all for now. If you guys wouldn't mind, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe. We really enjoy hearing from y'all. And if you could, if you guys like podcasts, you want to listen to something while you're working or driving, check out our podcast, Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. We do new episodes. Basically, we just review a storyline or a hardcover that we read. We have, I don't know, 60 episodes so far. And then also every week I do a little series called Matt's Minis, and that's where I'm just going through an entire run. So I started at the first appearance of Swamp Thing in House of Secrets 92, and I am reading every Swamp Thing comic book. So I have already made it through all of the 70s run of Swamp Thing and all of the beginning of the 80s run, and I have just started getting into the Alan Moore run of the 80s Swamp Thing. And I just basically every week go through one issue, and it just follows in order. So I think we're on issue 27 right now of Swamp Thing volume 2, which is Saga of Swamp Thing. So and I think there's like 150 issues of that, so I'll be doing that for a while. But yeah, that's if you guys like Swamp Thing, or you want to kind of find out about that series more and just have someone tell you what's going on in the story so you could follow along, check that out. And we also post those on YouTube as well. So if you just like to listen to stuff on YouTube, they're up there as well. So yeah, but let us know, let me know if there's anything I'm missing or stuff you guys recommend. I'd love to check it out. So yeah, until next time, see you guys later.